All right. This is the Massachusetts Constitution, I believe. And I think this is pretty close to its original form, obviously, because we're reading it on the internet. So it's got to be close to the original. Uh, I wouldn't be necessarily be looking this up, except for the fact that um, my court case for my son is in Massachusetts. And so we're just, I figure this is good for me to read. I probably have never read this in my life. And I think that the Declaration of Rights was incorporated into the Constitution of the United States, as I understand it. John Adams, one of the founding fathers, I think, or authors of the Constitution. It's ironic living in Connecticut, the Constitution state, right? And all the corruption. Clever nickname. Any Hooters. Constitution or frame of governance agreed upon by the delegates. And this is really small writing. Like, I can barely see this. And so bear with me. And it looks long. So if you want to check out now, go for it. But I'm guessing there's like fundamental stuff we all probably need to know inside of this document right here. But what do I know? It's been working out so well so far. Um, Agreed upon by the delegates of the people of the state of Massachusetts Bay in convention, began and held at Cambridge on the 1st of September 1779 and continued by adjournments to the 2nd of March 1780. Preamble. The end of the institution. Maintenance and administration of government is to secure the existence of the body politic, to protect it, and to furnish the individuals who compose it with the power of enjoying in safety and tranquility their natural rights and the blessings of life. And whenever these great objects are not obtained, the people have a right to alter the government and to take measures necessary for their safety, prosperity, and happiness. And I think that's exactly why we're seeing a push to shut down the family courts right now. Their natural rights and the blessings of life. And whenever these great objects are not obtained, the people have a right to alter the government and take measures necessary for their safety, prosperity, and happiness. And, my approach is to settle this thing legally, in court, right? Until the majority determines otherwise. But again, my preference is a peaceful solution. I think that's the way forward. I think that any type of violence is folly, right? But, we didn't start the fire. I don't know how else to say that. The body body politic? Is that the political body? Is formed by a voluntary association of individuals in a social, it says compact, in a social compact by which the whole people covenants with each citizen, and each citizen with the whole people, that shall be governed by certain laws for the common good. It is the duty of the people, therefore, in framing a constitution of government, to provide for an equitable mode of making laws, as well as for an impartial interpretation and a faithful execution of them, that every man may at all times find the security in them. We, therefore, the people of Massachusetts, acknowledging with grateful hearts the goodness of the great legislator of the universe in affording us, in the course of his providence and opportunity, deliberately and peaceably, without fraud, violence, or surprise, of entering into an original, explicit, and solemn compact with each other, and of forming a new constitution of civil government for ourselves and posterity, and devoutly imploring his direction in so interesting a design, do agree upon, ordain, and establish the following Declaration of Rights and frame of government as the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I don't know, is this like different than, like, is the Declaration of Rights in the Constitution? Or is the Declaration of Rights of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts different? It's all very confusing to me. Like, what's, like, the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land, right? But, like, is this part of it? You know? Anyway, part the first, a Declaration of Rights of the inhabitants of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Article 1. All men are born free and equal. Ha! We have discrepancies already. And have certain natural, essential, and unalienable rights, among which may be reckoned the right of enjoying and defending their lives and liberties, that of acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, in fine, that of seeking and obtaining their safety and happiness. This is the United States. Article 2. It is the right as well as the duty of all men in society, publicly and at stated seasons, to worship the Supreme Being, the great Creator and Preserver of the universe. And no subject shall be hurt, molested, or restrained in his person, liberty, or estate for worshiping God in the manner and season most agreeable to the dictates of his own conscience, for his religious profession or sentiment, provided he doth not disturb the public peace or obstruct others in their religious worship. Well, I would say sacrificing babies to Baal is absolutely a disruption. I'm just saying that out loud. That is a disruption of public interest. Article 3. I think there's a few of these. As the happiness of a people and the good order and preservation of civil government essentially depend upon piety, religion, and morality, and as these cannot be generally diffused through a community but in the institution of the public worship of God and of public instructions in piety, religion, and morality, therefore, to promote their happiness and to secure the good order and preservation of their government, the people of this Commonwealth have a right to invest their legislature with power to authorize and require, and the legislature shall, from time to time, authorize and require the several towns, parishes, precincts, and other bodies politic or religious societies to make suitable provision at their own expense for the institution of the public worship of God, and for the support and maintenance of public Protestant teachers of piety, religion, and morality, in all cases where such provision shall not be made voluntarily. It sounds like, church funding, that sort of thing, a place of worship. That's how I interpret that. But, people tell me I'm crazy, so. We're still going in Article 3 there. Excuse me. And the people of this Commonwealth have also a right to and do invest their legislature with authority to enjoin upon all the subjects and attendance upon the instructions of the public teachers aforesaid at stated times and seasons, if there be any on whose instructions they can conscientiously and conveniently attend. So it sounds like that, that's saying that the people in politics can attend did I read that right? People of this Commonwealth have a right to invest their legislature with authority to enjoin. Yeah, so maybe the people in the legislature attend the satanic sacrificing, child baby sacrificing to Baal. I'm really not sure how to interpret this. Provided notwithstanding that the several towns, parishes, precincts, and other bodies politic or religious societies shall at all times have the exclusive right of electing their public teachers and of contracting with them for their support and maintenance. And all monies paid by the subject to the support of public worship and of the public teachers aforesaid shall, if he require it, be uniformly applied to the support of the public teacher or teachers of his town, religious sect, or denomination, provided there be any on whose instructions he attends. Otherwise, it may be paid towards the support of the teacher or teachers of the parish or precinct in which the said monies are raised. And every denomination of Christians demeaning themselves peaceably and as good subjects of the Commonwealth shall be equally under the protection of law, and no subordination of any one sect or denomination to another shall ever be established by law. There's a lot of religious undertones, or just overtones, really, in this document. And I think that if it were written today, we wouldn't see that. So, it certainly seems like they've made an effort to remove God from our society. Article 4. We're in Roman numerals, so if I screw these numbers up, it's because I am not Roman. The people of this Commonwealth have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state, and do and forever hereafter shall exercise and enjoy every power, jurisdiction, and right, which is not or may not hereafter be by them expressly delegated to the United States of America in Congress assembled. Oh, shit. Article 4 of the what the fuck are we reading right now? Article 4 of the Declaration of Rights of the Inhabitants of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Does that mean that my baby mama can literally do whatever she wants? Because she lives in the Commonwealth with my kid? What? The people of this Commonwealth have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state, and do and forever hereafter shall exercise and enjoy every power, jurisdiction, and right which is not or may not hereafter be by them expressly delegated to the United States of America and Congress assembled. Yeah, that makes total sense. I think every town should run themselves that way. Every state, right? Every state should be independent. All power residing, this is Article 5 now. All power residing originally in the people and being derived from them, the several magistrates and officers of government vested with authority, whether legislative, executive, or judicial, are their substitutes, and agents, and are at all times accountable to them, which is the people. So everyone in the legislative, executive, judicial branch, and all magistrates, officers of the government are accountable to us. Shout out to Lemon Pound Cake. Article 6. No man nor corporation or association of men have any other title to obtain advantages or particular and exclusive privileges distinct from the community, that what arises from the consideration of services rendered to the public, and this title being in nature neither hereditary nor transmissible to children or descendants or relations by blood, the idea of a man born a magistrate, lawgiver, or judge is absurd and unnatural. Yep, I think the family court's got to go. I need to see if I can use this in the Commonwealth, because is this document relevant today in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? Because it seems like my rights are getting trampled on. Article 7. Government is instituted for the common good. Oh, really? For the protection, oh boy, it's for your safety, guys, national security, prosperity, and happiness of the people. Is everybody happy? Are all the people happy? Is this document still relevant? And not for the profit, oh boy, oh biggity boy. How are those? How's the Dow doing, Pam Bondi? And not for the profit, honor, or private interest of any one man, Trump family, or class of men, Bilderberg Group. Therefore, the people alone... Sorry, I'll stop interjecting. That got me in trouble in court the other day, too. Therefore, the people alone have an incontestable, unalienable, and indefeasible right to institute government, and to reform, alter, or totally change the same when their protection, safety, prosperity, and here it is, happiness require it. Article 8. In order to prevent those who are vested with authority from becoming oppressors. I think we're well past that point. I can't help myself. It's just too fucking in your face. The people have a right at such periods and in such manner as they shall establish by their frame of government to cause their public officers to return to private life and never be able to walk down the streets ever again for fear of embarrassment or shame for the things that they've done, and fill up the vacant places by certain and regular elections and appointments, because those aren't fixed. We can trust the elections. Looks like Article 9, all elections ought to be free. Unbelievable. And all inhabitants of this Commonwealth, having such qualifications as they shall establish by their frame of government, have an equal right to elect officers and to be elected for public employments. Article 10. Each individual of the society has a right to be protected by it the enjoyment of his life. By it in the enjoyment of his life. Liberty and property, according to standing laws. He is obligated, consequently, to contribute his share to the expense of this protection, to give his personal service or an equivalent when necessary. But no part of the property of any individual can, with justice, be taken from him or applied to public uses without his own consent, or that the representative body of the people, in fine, the people of this Commonwealth are not controllable by any other laws. The people of this Commonwealth are not controllable by any other laws. Maybe I should move to the Commonwealth. Interesting. Than those to which their constitutional representative body have given their consent. And whenever the public exigencies, oh boy, require that the property of any individual should be appropriated to the public uses, he shall receive a reasonable compensation therefor. Article 11. Every subject of the Commonwealth ought to find certain remedy by having recourse to the laws for all injuries or wrongs which he may receive in his person, property, or character. He ought to obtain right and justice freely and without being obligated to purchase it, completely and without any denial, promptly and without delay, comfortably to the laws. Yeah, the family courts of business. Article 12. No subject shall be held to answer for any crime or offense until the same is fully and plainly, substantially, and formally described to him, or be compelled to accuse or furnish evidence against himself. And every subject shall have a right to produce all proofs that may be favorable to him, to meet the witness against him face to face, and shall be fully heard in his deference, is that right? No, excuse me, defense by himself or his counsel at his election. And no subject shall be arrested, imprisoned, despoiled, or deprived of his property, immunities, or privileges, put out of the protection of the law, exiled, or deprived of his life, liberty, or estate, but by the judgment of his peers or the law of the land. They had to throw that in there, didn't they? Because I really like the jury of your peers. And the legislature shall not make any law that shall subject any person to a capital or infamous punishment except for the government of the Army and Navy without trial by jury. Article 13. In criminal prosecutions, the verification of facts in the vicinity where they happen is one of the greatest securities of the life, liberty, and property of the citizen. Every subject has a right to be secure from all unreasonable searches and seizures of his person, his house, his papers, and all his possessions. All warrants, therefore, are contrary to this right. Interesting. If the cause or foundation of them be not previously suspected by oath or affirmation, and if the order in the warrant to a civil officer to make search in suspected places or to arrest one or more suspected persons or to seize their property be not accompanied with a special designation of the persons or objects of search, arrest, or seizure, and no warrant ought to be issued but in cases and with the formalities prescribed by laws. I don't know. Looks like Article 15. In all controversies concerning property and in all suits between two or more persons, all suits between two or more persons, except in cases in which it has heretofore been otherwise used in practice, the parties have a right to trial by jury, and this method of procedure shall be held sacred unless in causes arising in the high seas and such as relate to mariners' wages, and legislature shall hereafter find it necessary to alter it. So I was going to try to use this to argue that I have a right to trial by jury. My understanding is that heretofore, meaning prior to this writing, children and custody cases were decided by more or less individuals or small groups of people, but not a jury. So that one word, heretofore, in Article 15 kind of screws us for the argument for juries, but I guess at the federal level it's a little bit different. I don't know. I'm trying to understand the law here, and it's all so complicated. Article 16, the liberty of the press is essential to the security of freedom in a state. It ought not, therefore, to be restrained in this commonwealth. I'm losing my count here. What were we looking at? Is this 15, 16, 17, looks like? The Article 17, the people have a right to keep and to bear arms for the common defense. And as in time of peace, armies are dangerous to liberty, they ought not be maintained without the consent of the legislature, and the military power shall always be held in exact subordination to the civil authority and governed by it. Article 18. A frequent reoccurrence to the fundamental principles of the Constitution and a constant adherence to those of piety, justice, moderation, temperance, industry, and frugality are absolutely necessary to preserve the advantages of liberty and to maintain a free government. I have so many questions. The people ought consequently to have a particular attention to all those principles in the choice of their officers and representatives, and they have a right to require of their lawgivers and magistrates an exact and constant observance of them in the formation and execution of the laws necessary for the good administration of the Commonwealth. So when I read constant observance of them, I just can't help but think about nanoparticulates, right? Except that's the other way around. Womp womp. Article 19, perhaps. The people have a right in an orderly and peaceable manner to assemble, to consult upon the common good, give instructions to their representatives, and to request the legislative body by the way of addresses, petitions, or remonstrances, redress of the wrongs done them and the grievances they suffer. Yeah, imagine if those clowns ever allowed themselves to be questioned, ever. Which is why I think it's important to bring litigation against these fools, right? Because if we don't hold them accountable by their own laws, they're just going to keep making new bills and acts and laws like, FISA and everything else to just keep screwing us. They're private black budget programs in conjunction with those laws, and nobody's really paying attention. Article 20, the power of suspending the laws or the execution of the laws ought never be exercised but by the legislature or authority derived from it, to be exercised in such particular cases only as the legislature shall expressly provide for. Article 21. The freedom of deliberation, speech, and debate in either house or legislature is so essential to the rights of the people that it cannot be the foundation of any accusation or prosecution, action, or complaint in any other court or place whatsoever. Lemon pound cake. Pound cake. Article 22. The legislature ought frequently to assemble for the redress of grievances, or for correcting, strengthening, and confirming the laws, and for making new laws as the common good may require, and not meeting in the middle of the night at the Connecticut State Capitol, butt-fucking each other to death and passing legislation that no one would approve of. Article 23. No subsidy, charge, tax, impost, or duties ought to be established, fixed, laid, or levied under any pretext whatsoever, without the consent of the people or their representatives in legislature from Israel or AIPAC or wherever they're from. Laws made to punish for actions, Article 24. Laws made to punish for actions done before the existence of such laws and which have not been declared crimes by preceding laws are unjust, oppressive, and inconsistent with the fundamental principles of a free government. Article 25. No subject ought in any case or in any time to be declared guilty of treason or felony by the legislature. Hey, I like that. Article 26. No magistrate or court of law shall demand excessive bail or sureties, impose excessive fines, or inflict cruel or unusual punishments, like removing children from their families. Article 27. In time of peace, no soldier ought to be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, and in time of war, such quarters ought not be made but by the civil magistrate in a manner ordained by the legislature. Article 28. No person can in any case be subjected to law martial. I assume that's martial law. Shout out David Crowley. Talks about him earlier. Or to any penalties or pains by virtue of that law, except those employed in the army or navy, and except the militia and actual service, but by authority of the legislature. Maybe that means they can't force you into the military or military actions. Article 29. It is essential to the preservation of the rights of every individual, his life, liberty, property, and character, that there be an impartial interpretation of the laws and administration of justice. Impartial. It is the right of every citizen to be tried by judges as free, impartial, and independent as the lot of humanity will admit. It is therefore not only the best policy, but for security of the rights of the people and every citizen, that the judges of the Supreme Judicial Court should hold their offices as long as they behave themselves well, and that they should have honorable salaries ascertained and established by standing laws. Behave themselves well. Well, I would say separating families is not good behavior. Article 30. I'm going to read this one, and then I'm going to quit it. I'm not going to go into the rest. I'm going to do a little bit more research and find out, like, what is the supreme law of the land, what applies. This is part of the Constitution. I think the Bill of Rights is written differently, but again, I haven't read this stuff, so I don't know. Last one, Article 30. If you made it this far, I mean, you are a super stud, or a Fed, one or the other, or a lawyer, or someone who has to listen to this. But if you made it this far and you're like a normie, good for you. Go do some research. In the government of this Commonwealth, the legislative department shall never exercise the executive and judicial powers, or either of them. The executive shall never exercise the legislative and judicial powers, or either of them. The judicial shall never exercise the legislative and executive powers, or either of them, to the end it may be a government of laws and not of men. To the end it may be a government of laws, not of men. I think that's the checks and balances, right? I don't know. Time to go do more research. This was the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights, right? Is that right? The Massachusetts Constitution? I don't even know what we're reading.